If you've been around microfilm or done any research, looked it up on Google, whatever it is, you have microfilm, you're trying to figure out what to do with it, you may have seen statements that say microfilm lasts 500 years. Is that true, or is that a myth? Is it just marketing? Well, microfilm was invented in the mid 1800s, so no one's actually been around long enough to see, yes, it lasted this long. However, there are smarter people than me and most people in the industry that say this will last 500 years if stored properly. So that is one of the critical aspects, is when it's stored properly, this material should last this amount of time. So let's say you do store it properly and you have a storage area that can keep it properly contained and it may last 500 years. And then the question becomes, will I actually keep this microfilm, and will who's ever around in 500 years actually use this type of material? That's the next question. So going back to the storage of the microfilm, there are ideal storage conditions that revolve around certain temperatures, certain humidity, and not having other chemicals. Like, don't put microfilm in a storage closet with paint, things like that. So if you have conditions that can keep the microfilm maintained properly, then it may last that 500 years for posterity and for people in the future to always have that eye-readable copy of the data on the film. However, I've been around the block a few times. I've been in basements, in the caves, in the storage areas where people are storing their microfilm records, microfiche, microfilm aperture cards, and almost never are they the ideal conditions. It's, like I said, a basement in an office building. It's a storage room in a department of a public entity, like a county office. These aren't humidity controlled, temperature controlled areas. They're just wherever they can put these records, because there are records that are being used, and that's how most people think of them. They're not planning to have them for 500 years. They're just thinking, I need to use this. Where can I access it? Where can I store it? So the ideal storage conditions are not typically met. So you probably wouldn't want to bet that if you're storing it that way, that the film will last 500 years. It'll probably be a shorter amount of time. Then we move on to accessibility, which is even if you are storing the microfilm properly and you have a great storage area, the right conditions, everything, how often are you getting into this microfilm? Because hard copies in general, paper records, things like that, books, whatnot, if you're, let's say, at a county recorder's office, or you work at a university registrar and people are calling about transcripts, let's say, using hard copies to fulfill transcript requests is kind of a pain in the behind. You have to go to a storage cabinet, pull out the files, maybe photocopy it, scan it, fax it, whatever it is, go put them back. It's a lot of time to use that physical file. Then you get to microfilm, which is one is, of course, you have the microfilm, the roll of it, but you have to have a reader, one of those hopefully one of those more contemporary desktop reader printer scanners, and not the dinosaur types that are, take up half a room. But then you have to put on this reader, you have to scroll around, find the image, export that in some fashion. Maybe if you have a contemporary version, you can just email it, but maybe you have to print it out and then photocopy it and scan it, whatever it is. Then put the microfilm back. That's a lot of work to do your job if you're using hard copies, especially microfilm. So if you are planning to keep it for a long time because you need to keep it or because you are accessing it frequently, it may behoove you to actually just digitize the records. You could still keep the backup for the eye-readable version, but digitizing the records so you have a more accessible, more efficient version of fulfilling your record request than going to the hard copies. Now I'm going back to that question I asked earlier, saying, does it make sense? Will I use this material in 500 years if it lasts that long? Let's say it was created in the 1980s and you go 20, 21, 22, 23. In the year 2480, will who's ever around, not us, will who's ever around still be using microfilm for data? No one knows. I don't think they would. I mean, other than someone finally saying, wow, look at this relic from the past. But technology is constantly evolving. And again, back in 30, 40, 50 years ago, microfilm was the method of storage. It was kind of new technology. It's a way to get a lot of information in a small package and then utilize it. Just in the past couple decades, look where we are now. Everything's digital. Using these hard copies is slower. You have people that aren't in the same offices, they're working remotely, they're at home, whatever it is. You have the security aspect. More digital security can protect this data. You reduce the losses from natural disasters, fire, floods, hurricanes, whatever it is. But just seeing how much technology has evolved from when microfilm was in its heyday, the 70s and 80s pretty much, do we really think in a couple hundred years that this type of material is still going to be used? Probably not. So you should be thinking, why am I keeping this? Is it really because we think we're going to use it? Do I have to keep it? Or is it just because that's what we're used to? If it's that last answer, just because what we're used to, probably not the best reason to be doing that. You may want to be looking more deeply into digitization. If it's a requirement, like a statute that you have to have an eye-readable copy, that's fine, but you may still want to get it digitized so you can actually use the data more effectively and then put the microfilm in some sort of long-term storage with those ideal storage conditions. And now we come to the end of so what? So you have all this information about microfilm. Will it last? Will it not? Do I have the storage? Here's some options to digitize. Really, it comes down to how often are you accessing the data, how long do you need to keep it, does it make more sense to digitize? And again, you don't have to necessarily choose one or the other. Well, geez, if I scan the microfilm, I have to get rid of it. No, you don't. You can keep both. You have your digital version with a backup copy, multiple backup copies, all the digital technology and security you can put around that as a package. And then you can also have your hard copy microfilm, the originals, in long-term storage or storage in your facility, whatever it is. You can have multiple variations of this, but you just need to think, what am I doing with this microfilm? Will it last this time? And if it does, is it even gonna make sense? So if you're thinking about microfilm scanning, you can check out this video, which is the guide to microfilm scanning that we created. It goes through types of microfilm, costs, the process, things like that. Check it out. If you're interested, you can give us a call and we can talk about working on your project with you. Thanks for watching.